Season 4 is reworking the Summoner Necromancer completely. Not only are minions now getting 100% of our stats, which not only means our damage, also 100% of what we have as critical strike chance, and I can bring that up to more or less 100%. Also, the Book of the Dead is drastically changing, and these Book of the Dead changes will make a Golem monster possible. We're gonna have a Bone monster, and Skeletal Defenders take 99% reduced damage. What? Let me first show you the baseline aspects Necro will need. They changed how you get more skeletons, because now Occult Dominion says your maximum number of skeletal mages and warriors is increased by 2. Yes, it's warriors and mages in 1. And if I would now put this on the amulet, I could get 3 mages and 3 warriors. I don't believe that is worth it. So this will probably either land on the chest or on the helmet. Let's put it on the chest for now. We still get to see how we merge this with the existing uniques and other offensive legendary aspects. So this one is a must. You want to have the bonus mages and warriors. And they said the damage reduction will be harder to get. But we get a new altered aspect from last season already, and that is Hardened Bones, which is you and your minions gain 20% increased damage reduction. Boom. That should probably go on your pants. So we have our chest and our pants with 2 amazing minion aspects. Now they did change Unyielding Commander. An Unyielding Commander reads, while Armor of the Dead is active, your minions deal 84% increased damage. This is wrong. It's 100% increased damage. So no more attack speed. That means if I take a 2-handed weapon, it would be 200% more damage on my minions. That counts for the Golem as well, being able to maybe make him do multi-millions of damage finally. So this should probably go on your weapon if we're planning to 2-hand the weapon, or respective on the amulet. I would say we're going to rather put it on the amulet because we're most likely going to go for a 1-handed weapon and not for a 2-handed weapon. That brings us to the next minion aspect, and that is attack speed, because we can only bring attack speed up to 100% bonus. Yes, each time one of your summoning minions damages an enemy, they gain attack speed for 3 seconds up to 42%. We have to keep in mind that this is limited with the Cult Leader node, and they changed how the Cult Leader node works. It's 30% damage increase now for each 20% attack speed bonus, but up to a maximum of 100%. So we can only get this 5 times, only another 150% multiplicative damage. That being said though, if we have Frenzied Den, that would already be 42% plus, easy as it goes. So our attack speed going vastly higher. And yes, the minions would get our attack speed bonuses too. So if we're in the Paragon board, in the Flesh Eater, we have another 5% attack speed bonus that we will 100% take to boost the attack speed of our minions even further. Now, I'm not sure if we need more bonus damage with reanimation. That would be another 40% multiplier. But we're already getting the 42%. We're getting another 100 or 200% with Unyielding Commander. And then reanimation will give us another 40% on the 150% we're getting with Cult Leader. It might be better to take reanimation out. The intriguing part is that we don't actually need to go for Lucky Hit anymore, because the Ring of Mendeln was changed to now trigger on every 6th attack. That's it. Just 6 attacks. Done. And the Ring of Mendeln gives minion attack speed bonus anyways, which is a good thing, bringing us even further to this 100%. Now, the good thing about this not needing Lucky Hit is that we don't have to focus on certain core skills, because usually Blood Search with a 12% Lucky Hit chance wasn't going to be triggering Mendeln. Bloodlance 33%, okay. Sever 20, Blight had a 40% and Bone Spear had a 50%, so these were likely to actually trigger Mendeln. But again, we don't actually have to look at that anymore, so we have the free choice of what core skill would we like to use. How varied do we want to go? Yes, we could just simply play this with Blood Search now and go for Overpower, and then we could consider, instead of Unyielding Commander on the amulet, to play the Death Speaker's Pendant. This is an option. This is an actual option. Death Speaker's Pendant now as the amulet. Then on the off end, we could put the Unyielding Commander, and on our gloves, we could put the Blood Search double trigger. So that is absolutely possible to actually play this very simple as an overpower maximum crit board. Now there is the new Aphonic aspect. Skeletal Priest empower your Skeletal Warriors attacks to deal shadow damage and have a 15% chance to stun. I'm not sure if that's much useful to just have them do shadow damage now. Yes, sure, then your warriors would scale with shadow damage instead of physical damage, but still, it doesn't seem to be worth it. And the needle flare for the thorns to go out, not as well. That means that Unyielding Commander together with, which means we definitely need Occult Dominion for the skeletons, Hardened Bones for the damage reduction, and Frenzied Dead. These three are set in stone. Now you could say Unyielding Commander if you want to play Army of the Dead, worth it. If you don't want to play Army of the Dead, we could play the standard Bone Storm. And Reanimation, we'll have to see how high truly the damage of our minions actually scales. But let's assume we're playing the actual full minion build. Then we're not going to be using a basic skill because we can use our mages to essentially restore resource, and would say we're going for maximum crit because now with minions getting all our stats and minions getting a huge amount of bonus damage with Frenzied and the Army of the Dead and Unyielding Commander and everything, we'll probably go for maximum crit ourselves. So we're going to be focusing on Bone Spear and then Bone Spear to make things even more vulnerable. And we still want the lucky hit for even more corpses. Now we're boosting the minions and we're boosting the minions. And as we're playing Bone Spear, we want to play Decrepify as well, because Decrepify will reduce the cooldown of our Army of the Dead, because it has such a high lucky hit that then with Abhorrent Decrepify, you're getting that down really fast. Now for Bone Spear, we'll need Serration, we'll need Compound Fracture, and we'll need Evulsion for the bonus damage, just to have that all taken. And the interesting part is that Inspiring Leader was changed. While you're healthy, you gain 4% increased critical strike chance, and your minions gain another 18% increased critical strike chance. The interesting part is that this should count double for minions, because minions get all your stats 100%. That means minions should get 30% critical strike chance from Inspiring Leader alone. Now we're getting Army of the Dead, and we're getting Prime Army of the Dead plus Army of the Dead to summon all our minions again, boosting our minions' defense as well, and having our minions do more damage. Hellbent Commander did get buffed, and I hope this works correctly now because it never used to really multiply correctly. I would still not level up the Skeletal Priest because it's absolutely not worth it, and Callan's Attic get changed to now work with active minions. As we have 5 mages and 6 warriors, plus the Golem, potentially if we play the Golem, we're going to get already a huge boost of attack speed. Now this would be with the skeletons 33%, together with the 42% of the Frenzied Den, with all the other attack speed bonuses from Mendeln and so on, we should be able to reach 100% relatively easy without much of a hassle and having to try. So the maximum bonus of the Paragon board is already there. There's more skill points, but our bar would look following: Raised Skeleton, Decrepify, we have Bone Spear, there is Army of the Dead. That means we got 2 more skills we can take, which could be a Golem, which could be Blood Mist, and we could consider Corpse Tendrils or Corpse Explosion. Before we look into this, let's actually check what we have available here. Since Skeletal Mages are rather interesting, they can, each time your Cold Mage damages enemies with primary attacks, you gain 3 essence, right? Your Shadow Mages now, you deal 3% increased damage for each active Shadow Mage. And that's just increased damage. So you could just put your 5 Shadow Mages in for a 15% damage increase. That's intriguing because usually we would have to sacrifice the mages to get a 15% damage increase. But now we can keep them and get the 15% damage increase, where this only works against vulnerable enemies. So alone, just having the Shadow Mages with us, nothing else, it's just 15% more damage, just like that for any build. And you only need to play the Occult Dominion aspect. What I find more interesting is the Bone Mages. So Bone Mages use their own bodies as projectiles, dealing heavy damage at the cost of their own life, right? That's a bit unfortunate, they're killing themselves, but you essentially resummon them with Army of the Dead, so it doesn't matter. What Bone Mages can do, they have a 25% chance to cast Bone Splinters or Bone Spear if you have it on your equipped skills. That means with a 100% attack speed bonus, them constantly attacking super fast, they could just cast bonus Bone Spears that would either scale with your or their damage. And that's the interesting question. If it scales with your damage, that's nice. If it scales with their damage, that could be even nicer. Because if they cast a Bone Spear and then they have the 100% damage increase and the 150% damage increase, and the Ring of Mendeln can trigger. And I don't know if that actually triggers from me or from them, or the Bone Spear can be Ring of Mendeln empowered. So yeah. But again, if we only have Bone Spear in our bar, then, well, we can only get Bone Spear from this as well, right? And for the warriors, each time you critical strike, your skirmisher's warrior's next attack critical strikes and deals 50x bonus critical strike damage. Now, as Bone Spear always critical strikes, you could constantly have your skirmisher's critical strike. Alternatively, every 6 seconds your defenders taunt enemies around them. Actually taunt. Anyways, warriors will run up front and now pull aggro. That is a change to them, but they can now effectively taunt, whereas they could also take 99% reduced damage. The taunt is quite intriguing as we go for dungeoneering. You could think about using your skirmishers with critical strike versus bosses, because that's just more damage versus a boss. But while you're pushing a dungeon, using the taunt seems a bit simple. Why wouldn't I do that? When your bone mages are going to be your damage, and your dudes are just literally going to taunt everything. Now, we could still use the wind-up attack from the Reapers to actually reduce our active cooldowns, but we should have enough with Decrepify going on for that. Alternatively, Reapers have a 15% chance to still make the corpses. That is a hard consideration now. Do we want the Reapers to do corpses, or do we want our defenders to taunt everything? Considering that we have Bone Spear and Army of the Dead, we should have enough corpses at any point, because Bone Spear does have a significant high lucky hit chance to continuously give us corpses. That being said, it comes down to how effective the walking ahead of the warriors works. If that works well enough, we might not need the taunt. Otherwise, we'd definitely consider doing that. Now, to the topic of Golem or not, it's quite interesting because using the Golem ability makes you unstoppable. Yes. And intriguingly enough, the Bone Golem, which can taunt as well, now has the ability to spawn 5 corpses around him. Yeah. You could straight up spawn 5 corpses around him, which I do personally find very interesting. Alternatively, you could unleash Bone Spikes. Then Blood Golem now absorbs 30% damage taken, or does heal himself and you at the same time. The Iron Golem does every second attack a Super Slam. And I would say this is worth it, but not when you play skeletons. Because if the Iron Golem does a Super Slammer incredible damage, you probably want to focus on the Golem itself as a Golemancer, which is a complete build in itself. Alternative, the Golem could now pull in enemies. Slam, pull, slam, pull, slam. That is very good. But if we do have the taunt already and corpse spawning at the same time, we could taunt with the Golem, corpse, explosions, kill. It's a quite nice loop. Yes, you would still lose our critical strike damage multiplier, which is a bit of an annoying one, I have to say. But considering that the Golem could do this nice slam taunt corpses, we could consider playing the Golem and then corpse explosion for the Flash Eater and everything. In this case, though, the corpse explosion would be a physical corpse explosion. So you would essentially have our corpse explosion do more damage against slowed, stunned, or vulnerable enemies. And, well, that multiplies up to 30% slowed, stunned, and vulnerable together. And then we can use our bonus essence and flat fueled by death for more damage. It would give us the ability to regain essence with skeletons and with corpse explosion, while we get cooldown reduction on the curse. And if we get cooldown reduction on curse and can use our golem more often, we can become unstoppable more often, never get stuck again, but we can total make more corpses more often the whole time. This might even go so far that we consider to put the aspect of the Frenzied Dead on our offhand. And then there's a thought of maybe putting Black River back into your hand. Then we're having Black River millions of damage explosion together with our minions doing incredible damage, and a Ring of Mendeln on top of that working on every 6th attack, working plenty fine. So maximum minion damage paired together with the other atrocities. The problem might be essence generation. So maybe the aspect of reanimation has to go on your gloves if we then play the aspect of reanimation, because the thought is that this 40% damage multiplier might just be too much. Like we're going for more damage than is necessary as we already have a lot of damage. Now, you could argue that the Unyielding Commander is in comparison to reanimation not that useful, because Unyielding Commander only works when Army of the Dead is active, right? The 100% damage boost, 150% on the amulet. But if we put reanimation on the amulet, we would just get a flat boost of 60% bonus damage all the time versus 150% damage boost sometime. Yes, it does the 90% damage reduction. That's a good thing. 90% damage reduction is nice. And we want to play Army of the Dead anyways, because Army of the Dead now works with summoning skill damage, and summoning skill damage on the chest and so on will boost it even further. So we could get the Army of the Dead quite nicely up, and it will resummon all our minions and make bonus corpses. So it's like a win-win-win more, win-win-win-win more. That means that I would even argue the aspect of reanimation could go away, and you could think about playing an exposed flesh, for example, that we could, with lucky hit chance, restore even more essence. Would be worth a thought. But it might be that our essence problematic is not even there, because with the golem summoning corpses and the Black River consuming corpses, and us getting a lot of essence from all the things, it might just be enough that we don't struggle. Because end of the day, we have to raise skeletons to boost our minions, then we blast out a few bone spears, then we use our golem, army, curse, restore with corpse explosion, back to bone spear, so that rotation might work plenty fine. And on the other ring, we might want to play Sacrilegious Soul, because Sacrilegious Soul gives us lucky a chance for more corpses, but it does on top raise our skeletons automatically. That being said, the Sacrilegious Souls that gives us the free corpse explosions and the skeletons automatically is simply not as good as for this build, since we get Army of the Dead that resummons our skeletons. So I might not need Sacrilegious Souls, and that brings us back to Exposed Flesh is an option, or Reanimation. And then for the gloves, we could play something for the Bone Spear, and that would be the Splintering aspect, because Splintering just gives us the 60% bonus damage and bonus vulnerable on our Bone Splinters. That means that our Bone Spear now, when it goes through an opponent, makes it vulnerable, and then the splinters make things vulnerable. So our Bone Spear alone is our source of complete vulnerable, extremely simple. And that still leaves us with a boots and a helm aspect left open. And here you could say, yes, Harlequin Crest, if you pick up a Harlequin Crest, but we're most likely not going to have an Uber unique, so what will make more sense? And there's two options here. We could move the aspect of the hardened bones to the helmet, and then we're going to check out T-Bolt's Will. Because T-Bolt's Will still gives us this 50 primary resource when we become unstoppable. It only does 20% bonus damage, so that got nerfed. Still though, 20% bonus damage, and we can become unstoppable every easy seconds due to Decrepify and the Golem. That would boost our Army of the Dead damage, Bone Spear damage, Golem damage itself, and our corpse explosion damage on top of that. So T-Bolt's Will would really nicely fit into this. And we wouldn't even have to play Metamorphosis for the dash unstoppable, because we can become unstoppable ourselves. That would allow us to play Flicker Step in the long run, which gives us all stats, movement speed, ultimate skill damage. That would boost Army of the Dead. And then whenever we evade through opponents, as we then evade through opponents because we can afford this, with the damage reduction we're having, that with Flicker Step, we can push the Army of the Dead cooldown even lower to then use it more often. Since the Golem can taunt, make us unstoppable, make corpses, and we would then be able to just go through the Flicker Step to reduce our ultimate skill cooldown, to then do the ultimate skill cooldown for a lot of damage, bang a few Bone Spears in, get the corpse explosions rolling, and suddenly have a good build where we do damage, our minions do incredible damage, but not to the detriment of our defense, because we don't play a unique chest. That means we can get damage reduction on this, and it should keep us nicely protected. And we do even have 12 skill points remaining to now beef out the Bone Spear for more Bone Spear. As we're playing the Golem, we want to beef the Golem out, and we get another 5 points remaining that we can freely spend, which could in fact just be bonus movement speed and bonus damage versus cursed enemies. Now, I would really like to boost my corpse explosion so far to get even more corpse explosion out, but you do notice how we have a constraint in points to make every single thing work, right? Realistically, I'd say you're going to have to go for movement speed to just not feel sluggish and annoying. And you want to have the bonus damage or the cursed enemies because you're always going to curse enemies. Which offers up the question, what is a higher damage increase? Because this would give 8% to everything we do, or in total, if we put a point out there, 12% to everything we do, which then increases the damage of Bone Spear by 12%, the damage by Corpse Explosion by 12%, and the damage by Army of the Den. But if we now boost Corpse Explosion with 3 points, you're essentially going from a 91% multiplier to a 106% multiplier. But that is only Corpse Explosion. So yes, the 3 points in amplified damage seem to be worth it. And now I would still not go for Death Embrace. Yes, it does do bonus damage reduction. So Death Embrace, let's put the 3 points out here, could go for 12% bonus damage reduction. But I think we should be good off right now with what we have, especially since on the Paragon board, we can actually play the Exhumation Glyph, and the Exhumation Glyph will fortify us, yes, and grant us even more damage reduction. So Exhumation will come in very handy here. Talking about the Paragon board anyways, you'll have to integrate the Cult Leader, and that could be a little bit tricky. I mean, right now you want to have bonus life and definitely bonus resistance to all elements that we get the maximum elemental cap. You want to here pick up every single point of intelligence, because intelligence is going to make your exhumation as big as possible. And we are going to, in fact, do a lot of corpse explosion damage with the bonus armor and the bonus damage here. And we're going over this side to boost our armor even further up, because we'll need a good armor value for the new PID. And that brings us into the Flesh Eater board. And that's why I wanted to play Black River and the whole corpse explosion, that we have the constant 40% bonus damage going on, with the bonus attack speed on the right side, which then allows you to go up here for even more resistance, even more damage to elites. And yes, we want to boost our critical strike damage, because the boost in critical strike damage here goes onto the Ring of Mendeln. The critical strike damage should go over to our minions as the critical strike chance, that we're all just doing more boosting damage. And it might be worth it to think about playing Control again, because Control says now you and your minions deal 20% increased damage to crowd controlled targets. Yes. So it is a very easy pickup in this board. Already have it 40 out of 40 out. That's me and my minions crowd controlled. So it doesn't say stun slowed or anything, just crowd controlled. And our Curse continuously crowd controls. Our Golem with his Con crowd controls. We will just get a 20% damage multiplier like this, which wouldn't work against bosses because, well, you can't curse slow bosses. That's the only caveat to it. Now, these two are kind of the mandatory setup. And then we move on the right side into the Cult Leader board. And the Cult Leader board needs to be turned a peculiar way, where we're going to have the minion armor and life node on top, and the rest here on the bottom. And then on the Flesh Eater board to the outside, we would probably want to have the Bone Graft board, because the Bone Graft board, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, will be needed for our Bone Spear. And this one is going to get rotated a couple of times, that we could walk into it and out of it at the same time to potentially combine these two boards with the Send of Death. That potentially there's a way to go over Send of Death down here to take the node. Now let's see how many points we have. We have 1, 3, 1 left. And in the Cult Leader board, we definitely need one thing. We want to have the damage reduction for your minions, because we don't want minions to die. And we definitely want to have the Dead Wraither glyph. So this one doesn't change, which gives our minions more damage and more damage reduction. And then we can give the minions more damage as well, and probably have to boost their damage up and their damage reduction too. Since we're working on getting our minion attack speed up to 100%, we're going to be moving in the middle here for the absolute minion damage, but minion attack speed, minion attack speed, and minion attack speed. That's another 15%. And with all the bonuses, we should be really getting close to that 100% attack speed boost. On the right side, there's minion resistance to all elements. That one is easily taken with a little bit of Skeletal Mage damage as well. And up here is Skeletal Warrior armor. And I am not sure how much that is needed, because it's merely Skeletal Warrior damage and armor, but it doesn't hurt to kind of have that. Now we could take these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points. But alternatively, you could come from the top here to potentially connect this. And we'll see if that is something we'll need in a second. Before we do this, we'll want to beef out our bone board, because bone is needed for a lot of damage. And here we want the essence glyph, because essence, for every 5 dex purchased, we get critical strike damage, and we get, again, even more critical strike damage multiplier. And that one is too good to ignore ever. There's no world where you'll ever say, nah, I really don't want this. So we're going to take every single point there. We don't even have to go to the bonus elemental resistance if you don't want to. So you get to consider, is this worth it? Do I still need it? Do I want to spend those points? What you do want to is you want to move your way upwards. There's maximum essence, and then there's essence on kill. And these 2 essence on kill are quite nicely to keep you even further topped up on essence. Now, the intriguing part is that we don't need maximum essence right now, because in the skill tree, we are playing Callan's Addict for our minions damage boost. We're not playing Ossified Essence to boost the damage of our Bone Spear. We could say, yes, sure, Callan's Addict out if we have enough attack speed that we don't actually need it. Because if you get to the 100% attack speed without Callan's Addict, then you could put this away and you could play Ossified Essence. Because you can only go up to 100%, right? And we do have 42% with the Frenzied Debt already. And then we have in the Paragon board some, we have another 15% here already. You do have the Ring of Mendeln with an attack speed boost. You could get attack speed boost on your gloves. If you truly manage to get enough attack speed that we could say no to Callan's Addict, that would be an absolute banger. We're limited to 100% anyways. So that is your thought there to then swap it out. But let's assume right now we don't have the Ossified Essence. That's where you would not even take more maximum essence here right now, because it wouldn't be worth it. What you do want to have, though, is the critical strike damage with bone skills to just be able to crit even harder. And then we're going to go even further up the way here to get the critical strike damage with bone skills. And lastly, we can take the maximum essence increase. Again, it doesn't hurt to have more essence, but it is also an 8% damage increase. So that is not bad to have in total. Which leaves us with another 31 points. And what we really want to have is this maximum minion life, right? And the bonus armor. And we want the cult leader node. But at the same time, we don't want to miss out on the 15% damage reduction with the corpses nearby, or the bonus damage with the corpses. Now, in order to get that, now getting the Scent of Death should be relatively simple. You can go into the board. We can pick up even more critical strike damage as we go in, and then just make our way to Scent of Death. It would be great if we actually managed to pick up the glyph, but from a point standpoint, we can't afford this right now. We're kind of down to 11 already. And alone, these 11 are needed to pick up Cult Leader. The thought was, could we go from Scent of Death down here and pick this up from a top-heavy comparison? But that is sadly not happening. I don't see us doing that gap. So you would have to go with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points. And that is down to which pass is better. It's actually the lower pass being better because there's more intelligence. But it's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then you only have 1 point left. So you do notice where our problem is. We would need another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 points in total to actually get this maximum out. And where are we getting these 8 points from? Now you could say maybe the Skeletal Warrior armor and damage is not worth it, as they're getting 100% of our stats. And since 100% of our stats is nice, I mean, minion resistance to all elements is good, so that's going to work. And then we're going to actually move our way in here to get the minion armor up in total. Because if I now get the minion armor up in total, what would we need the Skeletal Warrior armor for if we have all minion armor up? Now, there is a minion glyph we're missing, and that would be the Mage glyph. Mage glyph says minions gain 35% increased resistance to all elements. But if minions are getting 100% of my stats, are they getting my resistance now better too? And then if they're getting the resistance better too, does it actually work enough with the infused caster already that we don't have to play Mage? That is a consideration there. But if we would need Mage, then you could just cut out the control glyph and alternatively play the Mage glyph there. because it needs 40 intelligence, and we do have the 40 intelligence going on. Plus, it would boost the damage of our skeletal mages. Now, our skeletal mages are the bone mages, which are anyways doing incredible damage already. So we'd have then the bone mages going on, shooting projectiles out of their life to do immense amounts of physical damage. And we're kind of boosting physical damage with this build as a total. Now, this is only one example of how the new summoner could look. There is obviously, as we mentioned before, the chance to play the Death Speaker's Pendant and then put this all over to blood. And yes, we'll be making a theory craft for this one too. But so far, what do you think? Does this look interesting to you? And are you going to finally give Necromancer a try and get those summons going? Because summons will be the fastest leveling available. There's no argument brokered anymore. They'll make everything super fun and easy. Looking forward to it. If you missed out on all the changes, here's the patch notes wrapped together, and there's some more Season 4 info, so you get all the videos available. Enjoy.